But what he shows us how deeply rooted this is in British culture, British society, and the whole ethos. Christian Zionism of this type, the fundamentalist, is a theology that supports empire. It was a theology in support of the British Empire. Lord Shaftesbury is a good case. Shaftesbury was an evangelical political activist, part of the Clapham sect. He worked against child labor issues and overturned it. But he was a passionate Christian Zionist. In 1839, he published an editorial in the London Times calling for British support of a Jewish state in Palestine. And in that editorial, he has the phrase, "A country of no people for a people without a country." Does that sound familiar? Yeah. I'm saying 1839 Shaftesbury published that line. The Jewish Zionist movement picked it up in the 1890s. Shaftesbury was paving the way for the acceptance in the empire of a Jewish state. More important, I think, than the theology was empire. And you see that in Balfour. Balfour grew up in Christian Zionist background, as did David Lloyd George, the Prime Minister. Excuse me, I'm getting dry here. Balfour made the statement after the Balfour Declaration, and by the way, he embraced Chaim Weizmann, who took over for Herzl, and saw him as a new prophet to lead the Jewish people back to the land. And if the British can support this enterprise, they believe, based on Genesis 12:3, "I will bless those who bless you and curse those who curse you." That the British Empire would be blessed, blossom, expand, if they brought the Jews back to Palestine and gave them a state. That was Balfour's orientation. But empire was his more his priority. He makes the statement, and I'm paraphrasing, "We do not intend to even consult the desires and the wishes of the majority population. But because," and I'm missing this, but the intention is, "because of divine intentions and present needs, we will support Zionism and the creation of a Jewish state." The majority population, 90%, was Palestinian, Muslim, and Christian. But no intent to consult or weigh the consequences of supporting a Jewish state. The Balfour Declaration gave the first political legitimacy to the Zionist movement. And Christian Zionism helped prepare the way, but it was empire that drove it. I mentioned before, the first organized lobby, pro-Zionist lobby in the United States, 1891. 1891, before the World Zionist Congress. When's the World Zionist Congress? 1897. In the United States, William E. Blackstone, an evangelist, a disciple of Dwight L. Moody in Chicago. This guy came from Oak Park, right near where I live. Wrote a book called Jesus is Coming. Very clearly, this dispensational end-time theology. And then he decided he would have a national campaign, a petition drive, challenging the president then to support the creation of a Jewish state in Palestine to fulfill biblical prophecy. Ads were taken out from Boston and New York over to Chicago and St. Louis. He had the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, 14 or 15 governors, a long list of senators and members of Congress. petition drive failed. That is the first pro-Zionist lobby movement in the U.S. It was Christian in its inception, its orientation, and its drive. So this is very deep in our culture. Now let me talk about, finish this section off, about a few problems. They're obvious with this theology. One problem is, if I had a chart or I've done my PowerPoint, it talks about two parallel covenants. Imagine a line beginning with Abraham and running all the way over to the end of history. The covenant with the Jewish people and with Israel is eternal. Irrevocable, unbroken. And you see how easily from that covenant and from their selective literalism they say that means the gift of the land is forever. The covenant with Christians, with the church, begins with the crucifixion and resurrection. Where does it end? Close. He said second coming. The rapture. Because the true born-again Christians are going to be pulled out of history. And then the covenant reverts back to Israel, which has been there all along. And Israel will be the theater, the modern state will be the theater of all the events. The rise of the Antichrist will focus and attack Israel. The Battle of Armageddon will take place in north central Israel. And Jesus will come back. You know, this is another heresy and problem. This doctrine has a double second coming of Jesus. He comes in the clouds to take up the faithful, then he has to come back again to defeat them at the Battle of Armageddon. This is heresy. It's a modernist invention. But you can read all about it in the Left Behind series, and folks who don't think critical fall right into it. You got movies and everything. I can't resist this. The other day I received an email, and there's a group who are developing pet insurance. Some of you, have you seen this? This is serious stuff. A group who have, you can send them, I think it's only like $15, $20, and they will have your pet taken care of when the rapture happens. Yeah, this is for real. So, yeah, if my dog meows, I'll probably be left behind. I hope so. So, this is a heresy. Mark alluded to this earlier. This theology leads directly into forms of idolatry. You create an idol out of the state of Israel, and therefore it is above the law. You idolize it, support it, unconditionally. There's an idolatry made out of the land. The land is not subject to God's laws, even the Torah. You know, the part of the design of the Torah was to protect the weak and the marginalized. That's completely overridden. So there's an idolatry that's created out of Israel, out of the land, out of peoplehood, exceptionalism.